Hey guys, well, people, I just wanted to go over some quick thing I found with the GLR GT body, or I'm sorry, chassis. So I've got my nice body, display body that I actually run this with. For me, Mini-z is all about, scale realism. So using this beautiful body right here is like pretty awesome, even though I cracked it and I've got to fix that. I think I'm going to run some resin with carbon fiber in there to fix that. But anyway, I'll put that aside and I'm going to turn on another light and we'll see how this, much better. So the GLR body, this is just really quick. When you're building this and you're at the point where you're putting these little trailing arms on, which help stabilize the rear chassis or the rear pod, right? And you can see how that pops right back every time, right? And that's really what you want. It needs to just be free so that it can be controlled by these springs and the pressure and how you adjust them to keep it centered. What I found was when I first built it, now in the instructions that comes with it, they give you shims that you keep putting on underneath the screw to raise it up or down. Because what they say is install the two posts, snap your trailing arm onto it, and then move it around like this, okay? It should feel free and there should be no bind. Mine was binding really bad and I kept on adding shim and adding shim and adding shim. I literally put all the shims on it and it finally started to feel a little free, but it still had a slight bind. I noticed that if I did this, it didn't pop back. It kind of got stuck a little bit. It felt what I thought was free, but it wasn't. And then so I decided to take all the shims off and start over. I did it a couple times. What I found was this. When I started over with the shims and I tightened it down, it was binding. And I loosened it, put the next shim on, but I didn't loosen it all the way. And suddenly everything was really free. I didn't even need a shim. And I thought, what the? And then I realized, so I used to race 1/10 scale. So it's a much bigger car. Carbon fiber chassis pieces are much thicker. But even with those, you have to be careful because carbon fiber looks solid, but it's not. And it's layered carbon fiber layers in resin is what it should be if it's really carbon fiber. And carbon fiber will crush pretty easily. So when you tighten the screws down on the bigger cars, you have to be careful not to crank them because you'll crack or crush the carbon fiber. I was being gentle with this because it says in the instructions, be gentle. Plus I already know this thing's very tiny and we need to be careful with how we do it. So what I noticed was that if I tighten this down, what I felt was not too tight, but obviously it was. I think what was happening was I was crushing the carbon fiber ever so slightly and causing that little post to move forward or backwards, one way or the other, whichever way it was crushing, maybe even side to side. I can't say for sure. It's really too small to tell. But as soon as I snugged it, but just barely snugged it, it's fine. It's very strong. Doesn't wobble at all. And now it's completely free and moves the way it should. Huge difference in handling by doing that. I just thought you should know, maybe think of it as a PSA for new people who are trying out a GLR. Carbon fiber crushes easily. So when you tighten a screw down, because it's so small, and unless you have microscopes built into your eyes, you're not going to be able to tell that post is just slightly forward, slightly backwards or slightly forward or side to side, just enough that it causes this trailing arm to bind, and even shimming it won't help. So tighten this till it stops, and then maybe just a touch more, My hands I used to do construction, my hands are a little bit beefy, so it could be that I'm just tightening too much because that's the way I'm built. But either way, carbon fiber crushes easily. Don't tighten this post or that post too much. If you're having a bind that you can't resolve through shimming, loosen that up a little and then just let it ever so slightly snug back up without any pressure and see if that resolves it for you, because it could be you're crushing this carbon fiber and leaning the post one way or the other. All right, well, that's it on this video.